Love and light friends, coming at you today from Warrenton, North Carolina, on the border of Virginia, basically. This thing of time keeps coming up. Timelines and how it works. I woke up a few nights ago at 2:34 a.m. in the middle of a download, and I had vivid thoughts already in my head when I woke up, as well as a song by Stereo Mud in the background playing in my mind called Get Me Out of Here. I think that's what it's called. And the words to title that whole mode of thought was Calibrating the Quantum Singularity. And that's really just a fancy way of saying it's all about present time. It's all about the present moment. And that your timeline projects forward and backwards from the present. And so by changing your present, you're changing the past and you're changing the future. This seems obvious enough to the intellect to grasp. But actually doing this and maintaining this is a bit different, I think, because we have a tendency to be influenced by everything. And so just by seeing a news story or any story, just hearing a story or seeing a video can bring the familiarity of a timeline that you were once a part of back into consciousness, and therefore you shift yourself back to that timeline. And I'm a little bit cold, so you could probably hear that. So it really does become a matter of trusting yourself. And I talk about knowing a lot, the place of knowing. Staying in that place of knowing. Staying in that place of trusting yourself. And maintaining the timeline that you believe in, because it really, a lot of, if not everything, really does come down to belief. What you truly believe is what's going to manifest your experience, your reality. What you truly believe. not necessarily what you say you believe, because the quantum field knows what you truly believe. And so everything in physicality, what we call physicality, is an illusion. Now, I know you've heard this and we've probably talked about this, but it doesn't ever hurt to hear the truth again, because it helps it solidify within the self. But everything in physicality is made of atoms. Atoms are not physical. They're made of frequencies and oscillations, and the speed of those oscillations could be likened to a propeller on a plane. And if the propeller on the plane was stationary, you could stick your hand between the blades, you'd have no problems. But if that blade is oscillating at a high rate of speed and you try to stick your hand through it, what's going to happen? Well, that's the way atoms function. I'm going to have to get in the car because it's just too cold for my thin-blooded self. No, I'm not a reptile. Aw. Be nice to the dog, people, please. He's probably cold too. So everything in physicality is an illusion, in the sense that it's not really physical, including your brain. Your brain is physical. Your thought, your thinking process itself, your consciousness, isn't physical. So they're separate. In that sense, they're separate. They're not actually separate, but they're different in the sense that one's appearing to be in physicality when it isn't. So that really does validate the whole lost for words. Simulation. It validates the whole simulation idea, that we're living in a simulation. And I believe that we are. And see, I don't know where people go with that. Like, where do you go with, what does that mean? Does that mean nothing's real? Does that mean nothing matters? Does that mean it's all about interpretation from that point forward? And no, I don't think that it doesn't imply that nothing's real or nothing matters. It just validates the fact that consciousness really is the driving force for everything, including timelines. And so, in calibrating the quantum singularity, or mastering the moment, we could call it. Mastering staying in the present moment and then projecting or co-creating a timeline which you could say doesn't exist yet, because you're going to create it. See, what we've been doing And what most people are doing is they're carrying on a timeline that somebody else has created. And the only way they really get us to do this, or get you to do this, is through belief. That's why they push so much belief in this reality through religions, through science, through politics, all these modalities of belief. Because in believing these things, you create these things. Which is to say, you agree with it. And this gets back to consent. This gets back to sovereignty. When you become sovereign, you have revoked all your contracts that you consented to. You have left the matrix. And you are now on the trajectory towards unity. And hopefully we're now this is happening collectively now. People have finally gotten to the point where they are no longer satisfied with the reality. No longer satisfied with being ruled, being governed, being mastered, being lorded over. It's unbearable. If you're honest. I mean, if you're in denial, you'll just be more like the old school people that are still around. They're like, well, this is the way it is. This is the way it's always been. You can't really do anything about it. You just got to try to be happy. Which to me is unacceptable. We don't need to try to convince ourselves of anything. What we need to do is find out what's real. Find out what's actually true. Find out what's actually going on. And in that process, you are brought back to yourself. You are placed in front of the cosmic mirror and asked to look deep within yourself and to acknowledge that all of the things that you were projecting onto and into was actually you. It was actually your doing, your manifestations, your, again, consenting. Now, you may have not created the matrix that you consented to, but by consenting to it, you're helping to maintain it. And so, when you get ready to advance spiritually, evolve spiritually, you will have to confront all of this and deal with all of this. And all of it really is you. It's you will have to confront. It's you will have to deal with. And you might have to come to the realization that you are completely disempowered and enslaved. But you don't have to be. It was only by your consent. So calibrating the quantum singularity, getting in true present time, maintaining that timeline. And that timeline is yet to be created because you're the one that creates it. And guarding your mind and your heart against familiarities of anything from the old timeline. Anybody, anything, even maybe a word or anything. Anything could potentially feel familiar to you, to where you let down your guard, you have that slightest bit of doubt, or maybe even a lot of doubt. Either way, doubt does one thing. It begins to dissolve your vision, your dream, your co-creation, your future. So we must stay on guard in that sense, that anything from the old timeline, see, you're surrounded by people that are in the matrix. You are surrounded by people, potentially, right? People that are on definitely different timelines than you, especially if you've decided to be a sovereign co-creator of all that is to be. And so you have so many opportunities, if you want to call them that, to jump ship, jump off of your timeline back onto somebody else's timeline, back into the old world, which would be past, right? So you would literally be going and living presently in the past. And you have no power there. You only have power right here, right now, in the present moment, if you can get yourself in the present moment. It's not enough just to haphazardly think, well, I must be in the present moment. Then you're not aware of timelines. You're not aware of how this works. You've lost sight of the quantum aspect of reality itself. That our consciousness creates physicality itself. So in that sense, it is all happening in the mind. And so anything is possible. Everything is possible. And we've heard this before. Some of the mainstream religions even teach this, or will say that, but they don't really teach this. They would just say that and then leave it to, their pastor's interpretation of what it all means, and then be caught up in beliefs. And beliefs do create, but they don't create what we're after. That's the difference. What we're after is the absolute. What we're after is full integration of the higher self. A full return to what comes with that. Like, what would come with the higher self if you were fully integrated? What would that mean? That's what we're after. Beliefs don't do that. Beliefs won't get that. Beliefs will just pacify you. And see, if all you are is pacified for your entire life and then you die, you're right back here again. You're right back at the starting line again. That's not what we're after. We're after for true ascension. We're after going on from this lower world realm where all these other people have usurped all these other people's free wills and are imposing their wills upon them people and making them victims, all because we don't understand what this quantum aspect of reality. So it's not actually possible for that to be done, yet it's being done in this reality. Oh, you see how crazy it is? But then knowing that it's an illusion or a simulation. How does that affect the whole big picture of it? Anyway, I better stop there. I don't want my phone to lag up and everything. So I'm gonna leave you with that, my friends, because I'm meditating on it a lot. And I'm going to stay with this until I master it. Calibrating the quantum singularity. Until next time, love and light, my friends.